Every artist knows if you want to get people's attention, you get some. Let's stand up and sing, shall we?
Praises we sing, praises.
Music City, Deb's wardrobe provided by Campout Weather. Yes, it's campfire weather. Doesn't it feel nice? What a nice respite from all that hot weather we've been having, and we're moving right into Thanksgiving, and isn't that fantastic? And we are thankful that you are here. I am thankful that you are here today to share with us in authentic transformation. I have 7,432 announcements, so let's get started on those, shall we?
Anyone need some coffee?
Anybody need some coffee? Would you like a refresher of your drink before we get started? Please tip your servers. Okay. Yesterday was Love the Land Day. Look at all these folks who came out yesterday and spent a big old time. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. If you don't know what to be thankful today, be thankful for one of those folks right there. We so appreciate it. We've got all kinds of sacred community action stuff happening, but all you really need to remember right now is green beans, yams, and toys. All right? Green beans, yams, and toys. You know about the senior dogs, we've been talking about them. But what we really need, we have been asked to give about 30 cans of green beans and yams. I think 30 of green beans, 30 of yams, maybe 30 together, whatever. But bring 30. At any rate, bring some green beans, bring some yams, and then we're collecting toys for the Pennington Elementary School children. So those three things are our emphasis right now. After the service, see Linda or see Sherry or see one of the folks gathered around the collection of stuff that is gathering in the lobby there. Going right into the green beans and yams, let's just segue right into our holiday meal, which is coming up December 3rd. Y'all don't know about this yet because we haven't announced it. December 3rd is going to be our holiday meal. We used to do this the week before Thanksgiving, right? But then it was a homecoming kind of event. We're going to do this on December 3rd. It's just a shared holiday meal between Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa. We're going to get them all in at the same time. Festivus for the rest of us, yes. So all of you, come on out and join us. What we do, in case you haven't been around for one of our aluminum pan ministry events, there are aluminum pans out in the lobby, and Missy has already written on the bottom of them what you should fill them with, and bring them back on that day, right? So there's some kind of mashed taters, and yams, and all that kind of stuff. So take one of those aluminum pans or see Missy afterwards to find out more about that. This afternoon upstairs, Becky Astorita is doing AccuDetox from 3 to 5. If you want more information about that, talk to Becky. And then this Tuesday, we have a Nashville Chooses Peace organizational meeting. We're going to get geared back up. I know that April seems a long way off. We will blink twice and it will be here. So Nashville Chooses Peace this Tuesday at 6 p.m. If you've never been to an organizational meeting, then you can come. We'll let it be your first time. That'll be quite all right. Please come and join us. I want to show you this next slide, and I'm going to have Reverend D come up and talk about that for just a moment, because that's not exactly the kind of thing we normally see on Sunday morning.
No, we usually don't see a picture of somebody holding a gun in a grocery store with a child. But know that there's an organization in town called Moms Demand Action. And I've gotten to know them through One Nashville. And I want you to know that they're going to have a meeting. We are offering them our space on Thursday evening to have a meeting and to discuss this and what we can do to become proactive. And if you would like to come, it is open to you. This is not a closed-door meeting, but Moms Demand Action, mothers that are concerned about where guns might be entering certain places where children might be. So that's all you need to know.
Fantastic. You know, I do not have this on my announcements, but we have a meeting after church today.
Yes, we do.
Membership meeting, town hall meeting, what's it called? Sharon?
Membership.
Annual membership meeting. You don't have to be a member to come. You can come and listen in, right?
Yes, you have to be a
But
member
when we vote on things, you have to be a member. And we will ask for a blood sample before we vote. Yeah. But, so I just want to, that wasn't on my announcements. I want to remind you, I'll remind you again later before we close up the service. What else do I have? This Thursday, Susie Wright is doing a mediumship class. It's the third of 9 series, I believe, number 3 of 9. But come on out and join Susie. Susie's standing back there. I'm sure she'd love to talk to you about it after the service, if and you are interested in talking to her more about that. Whew, that should be all for now. Let's stand up and sing again. Okay, here's what we're doing. This side first. This side echoes. Remember? All right. Y'all follow me. to be honest with you, just between you and me, this is our little thing right here. There were a few of you I did not really believe on that song, but I got to tell you what, just when I was about to be sucked down just a little bit, I looked in the back and there were all the young folks swaying and dancing and smiling and singing and feeling it right back there. Yeah, we are blessed and we are thankful, and they know it, and we're learning it up here somewhere. All right. Got a few more announcements for you here. Coming up in November 17th and 18th, that is next weekend, I believe. Is that right? We have a chronic healing level 1 training. Contact Valerie Dennison is standing right back. I just saw her just a moment ago, but maybe not. She's not here. Talk to Dave afterwards. Or contact Valerie Dennison for details. This is an intensive workshop that takes 2 days. I know that Valerie's talked to some of you already about that, but that's coming up this weekend. Ongoing, of course, we have our lunch bunch on Wednesdays at 11:30. Meets right here, and they're talking about Andrew Harvey's book, The Hope, a Guide to Sacred Activism. And then on Wednesday night, we're doing our circles with Reverend Denise and Becky Astorita, the Catch the Wave circles, starting at 6:45. Now, I want to let you know that there's going to be a slight difference. Most of those start at 6:45 and go through till about 9 o'clock. A week from this Wednesday, of course, is the night before Thanksgiving. We will have a peace circle that night. It will start at 7 o'clock. So come on out and join that peace circle. Those of you who are used to a Thanksgiving Eve service, I'm sure it will have much the same feeling as that. And that's always a wonderful time to share together. Oh my gosh, I think I'm done. Me?
Good morning. Good morning. Would the other prayer chaplains please stand? The prayer chaplains are here to pray with you, and we will have a prayer chaplain in the prayer room after the service to pray, if you would like to pray with the prayer chaplain. Thank you. For the next 2 months, we will be using the process of Lectio Divina, which is a Latin term meaning divine reading. This is a way of reading the scriptures and reflecting on them that assists us in letting go of our own agendas and allowing Spirit to speak to us through the sacred texts. For the month of November, we will be taking our sacred readings from a book entitled Psalms for Praying, An Invitation to Wholeness, by Nana Merrill. So, the affirmation. Each breath leads me to a place of gratitude and love. Together. Each breath leads me to a place of gratitude and love. And a note for this reading, the beloved in this reading refers to your concept of God. Psalm 34. I bless the beloved with every breath that I take. Every time my lungs expand, I praise all creation. I literally breathe in God when things aren't going well, and I become happy again. Join me in spreading the news. Let's get this word out. The beloved met me more than halfway and freed me from my anxious fears. When I was desperate, I called out, and an angel set up a circle of protection around me. Every day, when I awaken, I am excited with anticipation, and I can't wait to experience what the beloved has in store for me today. I open my eyes and see. I open my ears and hear. I open my mouth and taste how good the beloved is. So, how do I do it? I remember to start my day with gratitude for the beloved. I become mindful of the beloved's presence in my life. I guard my tongue from negative words. I guard my mind from negative thoughts. I guard my heart from negative emotions. I embrace peace. And anytime anything unlike love or joy or peace slips in, I breathe and focus and become grateful for the opportunity to return to peace. The beloved keeps an eye on me. The beloved responds to every moan and groan, kind of like a bodyguard. I bless this relationship every moment of every day. Every time my lungs expand, I praise all of creation. Each breath leads me to a place of gratitude and love.
So I ask that you just settle into your seats. And as you settle in, breathe out first. And release anything that you might have brought in here with you that you need to release. So in just a moment, we're going to do that again. And so breathe out and let go. And then just focus on the way you gently begin to balance and inhale with an exhale. And become settled in your seat. And reset your breath. Each breath leads me to a place of gratitude and love. And so as I focus on my breath, I ask myself, what am I thankful for in this moment? And I allow the thoughts to come. I allow the faces to come. I allow the experiences to come. I allow the emotions to come. I allow in the silence, in the silence. Bless my relationship with the beloved. And I remember it with every breath that I take. Every time my lungs expand, I praise all of creation. Each breath leads me to a place of gratitude and love. I am thankful.
For always be And intuition, okay. And I thought of him because, you know, he loves his poodles. And one of them has had a difficult time, so let's remember Landon, his poodle. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I bought this house. It's a condo, really, but it's huge. It's like 2,400 square feet, and I had no idea what a blessing it was going to be. You know, we make these decisions about our houses. 15 minutes we walk in, we look around, we go, I'll buy it, and you leave. It has 40 feet tall by 40 feet wide glass walls in the living room. You know, I thought, oh, that's nice, sunshine. Until I get there, and now it's every day. The glory that goes past me. And it's become so touching in my life. It's just like, how do we not stop and pay attention? And so then my friend Cindy Dupree, she works for the Department of Tourism. She's their Director of Public Relations. And did you know, maybe you didn't, but she made me aware of this story, that Tennessee, we put up in many overlook places on the roads, viewfinders like that allow people that are colorblind to see the color. And so I watched, Lester Holt did a piece about it on the NBC Nightly News where they showed this guy who wept for the first time getting to see fall color. Wow. In his whole life, can you imagine? You know, so I just was like, please God, don't let me take this for granted. This beautiful display. We went to North Carolina last weekend. The leaves were at the height of their glory, and you're just going, what? You know, I don't want to take this for granted. So this song just keeps coming up in my life these days. So Judy is ridiculously talented, and I threw this together this morning, and I'm going to try not to cry, but you know, I'm a big ball baby. For the beauty of the earth, for the glory of the sky, for the love which from our birth over and around us
feel all that? And so, you know, we are focusing on this month being a force for good. And if you were here last week, you know, the thing that I said is the easiest way to be a force for good in your life is to be thankful. Because think of all the good that he just spread throughout this whole sanctuary by singing that. And we felt it. And I had images of things going on in my mind the whole time he was singing that song. That's one of the old Christian hymns that I still like. Some of them kind of make me go, whoo! But I love that one because it speaks to my heart in such a way. So I'm going to do a little review because if you were not here last week, you won't know what we're doing in just a few minutes. Because there's a little bit of bedlam that goes on during this lesson. And I'll explain what that means. So last week we talked about Thanksgiving in the more I am thankful, the more I have to be thankful for. Know that probably at least 7 or 8 times during my lesson I started that affirmation and asked people to reply. We got better as we went on. So I'm going to do it right now. The more I am thankful,
the more I have to be thankful for.
And it sounds like that you all believe that a little bit more than you did last week. Or maybe it's sunk in a little bit for those of you that were here last week because we talked about stuff, and see, Dan's already doing this. Know that there are sticky notes at different places through the sanctuary. We are creating gratitude graffiti for this month. We're asking you all to help us create it here and to help us create it out in the world, in your offices, in your homes. And so one of the easiest ways, as I shared last week, is for people to, at some point in time during the service, to go to one of these places and get one of these sticky notes. Write on it what you're thankful for. I know some of you are saying, I don't have a pen. There's pens in the back of every one of the seats because our youth did that to help me last week, so that's no excuse. And then just stick it somewhere on the wall. If you would turn around and look back in the very back, you will see that those all are ones that people put up on the walls last week, and I just stuck them on one piece of paper. But I have a feeling we're thankful for more than that. And so, no, I put some extra sticky notes if you are so zealous you want to write more than one thing. But know that there is no law about when you can get up and do it. Just like there is no law that says, oh, I can't be thankful in this moment. We can be thankful at any time during our day. Some of these pictures are some of the things we talked about last week. In Vancouver, Canada, the Dalai Lama went to visit some of the schools because he had heard there were such awesome things going on there. He wanted to see what was happening. And when he walked into some of the classrooms, they were having what is similar that we have in metro schools called morning meetings, where you create a community in your classroom, but they called it Morning Gratitude Circle. And every child, as the peace circle, the peace instrument that they were using to pass around the circle, when it came to them, they were to say something they were grateful for. Now, I know a lot of people, when you first hear that, you go, well, isn't that sweet? But what the schools are beginning to understand is that attendance is up, achievement is up, and children's attitudes are better. Isn't that interesting? Just with this one addition to the school day every day. Might we learn something from that? That if we find times every day to be thankful for something, our attitude might be a little better. And the people that love us and are the closest to us might be appreciative of that. You think? You can laugh. So if you notice, there's this other verse that we read that actually came from the scriptures that says, be anxious for what?
Nothing.
Anybody have anxious worry issues ever that you're willing to admit? Here in a New Thought Church. It says, but in everything by prayer and supplication. We talked about supplication. That's a big old word for asking. Asking Holy Spirit to help. It says, but in everything by prayer and supplication with what? Thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known. And I'm going to very quickly remind you that there was a study done at the University of Indiana with 43 people that had anxiety disorders. And they decided to jump out on a limb and do something different than they had ever done with those people. And so they asked them to do something for 28 days. Now that's a magic number that some of us have heard, that if you do something for 28 days, it becomes a habit. And what they asked them to do was to stop 3 times during their day and be grateful. Stop in the morning sometime during your day and be grateful for something. Stop in the middle of the day sometime during your day and be grateful for something. And the third one was the hardest. At the end of your day, sit down and think of someone or something that you feel like has hurt or harmed you. And write a thank you letter to that person, a gratitude letter or note to that person. I know people, every time I say that, people go, ah. But can you imagine how that would begin to shift your energy around that person? So, what happened at the end of this study is that, let me go back here and look at my numbers because I don't want to get it wrong. 37 of the 43 had released the majority of their anxiety in a 28-day plan of being thankful. Do you think we could do that? Do you think that we could stop 3 times a day and be thankful? So again, this morning, and this is a good time if you are scared about getting up and going and getting a piece of paper off the wall, because somebody might watch you. You are going to stand up in a moment when I say ready, set, go, and you're going to find 3 different people and you're going to tell them something you're grateful for. And in that process, if you haven't gotten a sticky note down yet, get you one down, and then you can put it anywhere you want to put it on the wall once you write on it. Ready, set, go. 3 people, tell them what you're thankful for. Remember, this is not an oration between you and another person. This is what you're thankful for, and move with it. piano last week. I found some on the singing bowl. I found some on tables. I found them everywhere all over the sanctuary. The other thing I will share with you is that one of the easiest ways to do this practice is go to Walmart or somewhere and buy you some sticky notes. Seriously. I know that sounds very elementary, like I'm an elementary school teacher. Well, I was for many years. Elementary school teacher and elementary school counselor. But know that you can put them on your refrigerator. You can stick them on your car. I've done that every day. Like put it on my car, and so that I remember to not shoot a bird to the person who just tried me in such a funky way. Does that make sense? Sometimes. Because what we were affirming during our meditation this morning was each breath leads me to a place of gratitude and love. And hear me, those of us who have done therapy for years, I've given people rocks, I've given them all kinds of crystals, I've given them all kinds of things to put in their pocket. And I've had those things for 40 years myself. But everywhere I am, I have my breath. Everywhere I am, I have my breath. I may not have that rock, I may not have that crystal, but I've got my breath. And so if I can remember with each breath I take right now for the next, till Thanksgiving is over with, think about how that's going to shift your world. That every time you feel yourself going, think of something you're thankful for. It's just a habit. Because sometimes when we go, we're not thinking of something we're thankful for. Does that make sense? Hence why I taught reset breath a year or so ago. I know that we have a habit of breathing in first. Don't. Breathe out first. Blow out anything that is bothering you first. Blow it out, blow it out. I've done this, you've heard me say this many times, I've done this with rooms of kindergartners, and they will blow the wall off the back end of the room. Because they get it. We do it in this sweet little way. I hate to tell you, but sometimes the things that bother me are bigger than that. Does that make sense? Blow it out. Get it out of your beingness so that when you reset your breath, it's not there. And when you start resetting your breath and it feels like it's still there, then go, whoops, I need to blow out some more. I may need to blow out for the next 10 minutes. This is one of the scriptures that has always made me feel warm and fuzzy on the inside. That God or Holy Spirit or whatever you want to call the Creator breathed into me the breath of life, and I became a living soul. Think about that. Breathed into you the breath of life. And you became a living soul. It didn't say a living human. Get that? A living soul. What does that mean? And I want to ask you this question. When was the last time you noticed the sound and the feel of your breath? Do you even pay attention? Of what it sounds like to take in a breath? And what it feels like to take in a breath? Do you realize that that is God? That that is the Holy Spirit? That that is the creative energy of the universe moving through you? That's pretty spectacular, is it not? I mean, it's pretty spectacular to know that that happens hundreds of times a day. And I take it for granted. Until I can't. You ever been in the hospital with somebody who was having trouble breathing? And then you realize, I'm not taking this for granted. I forget how much a blessing it is just to breathe. and not even think about it. How many of you know anything about the story of Job in the Bible? He kind of had a hard way to go. He was a very blessed and abundant man who at some point in time, there's a story that the devil and God got in cahoots. I'm not even going to go new thought with that. If you need a conversation with me about that later, I'll talk to you about it. But what I believe is his mind got way off base. And a lot of negative things happened. A lot. And so he started praying to God. If you remember what Dee was reading this morning, she said that the beloved met me more than halfway and freed me from my anxious fears. When I was desperate, I called out and an angel set up a circle of protection around me. Wow. Wow. And so part of what Job really began to understand is, but it is the spirit in a man, the breath of the Almighty, that gives him understanding. Because is that not what we want when we're anxious? When we're worrying? We want to understand what's going on. It doesn't make any sense. But we go out here and we ask 45 people. Or we get on the internet and we research 45 things. And what did Job find out worked? Breathing gave him understanding, because where does your understanding come from? Do you know that? Do you know that it does not come from all those conversations you have out in the world? We were having this conversation earlier. I work with lots of people. And when they come to me, most of the time they want me to give them the answer. I can't. Because the answer is inside of them. That's all I can do, is help them redirect and go back inside themselves and find the answer. Because if I give them the answer, guess whose answer it is? And it may not work for them. Or if it does work for them, guess what? They're going to come back to me every other day. And those of you that are therapists know how fun that is. Like, oh, Lord, there they come again. But it is the spirit in a man, that breath of the Almighty, that gives him understanding. So when's the last time that instead of worrying and being an anxious person, you focused on breathing? And being thankful that you had that connection. And so, I want you to watch a short video. And then I have a question or two for you for that.
When you think you don't have anything, I always say go back to your breath. And what I know is that if you just...
Thank you.
When you think you don't have anything, I always say go back to your breath. And what I know is that if you just start with your breath and start being grateful for that, it's thinking about what you have versus what you don't have, and focusing on the one thing that you are grateful for increases the energy of gratitude and rises just a little bit the joy inside yourself. Just a little bit. If you can just get to one good feeling helps build on another good feeling and another good feeling. Just the idea of saying, I am grateful for my breath. I am grateful that I was able to get up and walk on both legs this morning. And really feel that. Really feel that. I am grateful that I'm able to use my hands. I think about Monica George every time I go to reach for something. Monica George was the mother who was on our show, who'd gone into the hospital to have her second child and contracted a disease and had to have both her arms and both her legs cut off. She said, get me out of here so I can get home and take care of my babies.
We salute you for the light that you bring.
Starting with what you have and what you can do versus what you can't, focusing on the $3 in your wallet will bring you $5 sooner than focusing on the $50 you don't have. So if you allow yourself to get to the space of a good feeling, I don't care what that good feeling is, a good feeling increases more good feeling. In the same way that being in a bad situation and focusing on the bad situation continues to make you feel worse. First thing I do when I get up in the morning is read some kind of spiritual material. I read some kind of spiritual enlightenment. So I start my day with something that is going to put me in a positive frame of mind so that I begin attracting to me positive energy. So what this means that you've watched this right now, it means you've opened up just a little channel of energy to allow some joy to rise in yourself.
Have a minute or two conversation with the person sitting beside you about what you heard, because we all heard something different, but we heard what we needed to hear. Go.
Start with gratitude. Yeah, that's I've never done it before. I'm pretty lucky to have breast.
I thought it was great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't want to do the readings and stuff. Oh yeah. It's hard. Yeah, I do. Sometimes I only take one person, right? I usually, I know my creators show up and I'm going to listen to it. I'll start with the artist way. Just my brain about deep inside me too, as well as music. We have that time.
So two of the things that I heard from her is that breath is very important. And that being grateful is very important. And sometimes I think we have to make it some big ordeal when all it could be is I'm grateful that I can walk on my legs right now. I'm grateful that I can click this flicker this morning. I'm grateful that I can breathe freely and that I was able to get up out of the bed and get ready to come to church. There are so many things for us to be grateful for, and it's a process of mind, body, and spirit. But if you look, you have to be in the center to be balanced. And sometimes when I'm out of balance, it's my mind. I'll just be honest with you, it's my funky thoughts. There's really nothing going on, but I'm thinking there is. And I've made up a big old story, and I'm going to tell everybody. Does that make sense? And sometimes it's my body, and this happened to me over the weekend. I fed myself something that I know I'm not supposed to eat, but I ate it anyway because I wanted to. Nanny, nanny, boo-boo. And then I had indigestion for a day and a half. And I'm like, well, wasn't that fun? Even when I knew better, that I wanted to. You ever done that? I'm just going to be defiant. I'm going to do what I want to do because I want to do it. And so my body reared up on me and went, okay, well, here you go, honey bunny. So I couldn't be balanced because I was dealing with that. Or is it your spirit? You just are holding on to a whole lot of negative emotion stuff. And your spirit cannot be joyful. Did you see that in the end? You've got to rise with the vibration of joy. And if you can't be there, there's your work. And the fastest way to get there is being thankful. And I have people go, oh, no, I never have felt joy before. Like never? Maybe when you were 4. I don't know what joy feels like. And what I know about them is they have gotten in such a place in their life, and their mind has wrapped around it in such a way that they can't find any way to bust out. And who knew that just being thankful could help you bust out? It's such a simple practice. It doesn't take 45 years of therapy. It really doesn't. And I know there's therapists in the room, and we all want clients, and I understand that. Yay, we're going to have them, I promise you. They probably don't need to come from in here anyway. Does that make sense? But you can get out of those funky places quicker if you will be thankful than you can if you sit in there and groan and moan. But remember what B read this morning. Let me see if I can find it. The beloved responds to every moan and groan, kind of like a bodyguard. So if I'm in that place of moaning and groaning, the universe is going to hear, and it's going to respond. Now, I want to tell you from the New Thought perspective, you might not like the response you get when you moan and groan. Remember, what you put out there, you get back. You ever heard the universe moan and groan back with you? That can happen. So I want to tell you a quick story about Jesus, the master teacher, who was wandering around one day going from Samaria to Jerusalem, and he ran upon 10 lepers. Lepers in that time period were people whose body parts were starting to die and fall off. Skin literally fall off. Their hands would fall off. Their feet would fall off. And they were told that they could not live inside the city. They had to live outside, away from everybody. And of course, when they saw him wander by, they were like, oh, that's that man who heals people. Wonder if he can do something for us. There was their first problem. There's that man who heals people. Because the first thing Jesus said to them is, I don't heal people. The Spirit of God heals people. Can you hear that? He never once said, ta-da! Look what I did. Ta-da! He didn't do that. He taught the Spirit of God heals people. But what he said is, go show yourself to the priests, and you will be healed. I always thought that was an odd thing. It's like, why did he say that? Why didn't he just say, be healed, and they'd be healed? Because on a metaphysical level, he knew they were hiding from society. And he said, you've got to show your full self to the priest. Think about that. For us to heal whatever's going on in our world, whether it's mind, body, or spirit, we have to quit hiding with the things that we think people are not going to like. We all have them. And if I bring this out into society, somebody might not like it. My mama would be the number one for me. Won't like it. And so, do you know when you hide bits and pieces of yourself, you die a little bit every day? Everybody breathe. And so, Jesus' words were very, very important. He said, go show yourself. He told them to go show themselves to the priest. Do you know there's priests all inside this room? Enlightened, amazing people. Chaplains, other people. That if there's something, this is not an altar call, I promise, but if there's something that sounds like it, on your heart that you've been hiding, go show yourself. Because do you understand how freeing it is when you let that go? When you try to not keep it all inside you and go, oh dear God, if somebody knew about that, or if somebody saw this, or somebody knew that I thought this, oh dear God, dear God. But quite interestingly, when he said that, they all started running off, and one of them turned around and came back and said, thank you. One of them. Sometimes the hardest lessons we have to learn are thank you. And just like with the anxiousness study, sometimes our thank yous are for the things that we don't really think we're thankful for. So again this morning, and I'm going to ask Greg and my praise and worship team to get ready because they're going to sing at the end of this. We're going to do exactly what we did last week. We're going to take the reading one more time. And I'm going to ask you, as I'm reading it, to go inside yourself, but I'm going to guide you on what is a truth that you heard, what is a reflection that is happening inside of you in the moment, what is a realization that's coming to you from this reading, and what is the affirmation, which I will say at the end. So I just ask you to breathe for a moment. And drop those 18 inches to your heart space and close your eyes. You don't need to watch Greg or the band. They're just getting ready. Each breath leads me to a place of gratitude and love. And so as I hear this Psalm 34 read again, I'm going to be listening for a truth that speaks to me. I bless the beloved with every breath that I take. Every time my lungs expand, I praise all creation. I literally breathe in God when things aren't going well, and I become happy again. The beloved met me more than halfway and freed me from my anxious fears. When I was desperate, I called out, and an angel set up a circle of protection around me. Every day when I awaken, I'm excited with anticipation, and I can't wait to experience what the beloved has in store for me today. I open my eyes and see. I open my ears and hear. I open my mouth and taste how good the beloved is. I remember to start my day with gratitude for the beloved. I become mindful of the beloved's presence in my life. I guard my tongue from negative words. I guard my mind from negative thoughts. I guard my heart from negative emotions. I embrace peace. Anytime anything unlike love or joy or peace slips in, I breathe and focus and become grateful. Grateful for the opportunity to return to peace. The beloved keeps an eye on me. The beloved responds to every moan and groan, kind of like a bodyguard, and I bless this relationship every moment of every day. Every time my lungs expand, I praise all of creation. And so I spend a moment in the silence, reflecting on what I have heard and what realization has come up for me in this moment. Each breath leads me to a place of gratitude and love.
This is my daily bread. This is my daily bread. Your very word spoken to me. And this is my daily bread. This is my daily bread. Your very word spoken to me. And I'm desperate for
just stay standing right there. It's time for us to have the opportunity to give back. There is no better way to show gratitude than to give. And I'm so grateful, as I know we all are, to show gratitude to our spiritual community and to each other through the giving of our tithes and offerings. So if you'll take those gifts in your hand and say the offering blessing with me. Divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Please join us on the sacred walk of abundance.
and we bless the tithes and offerings. And we bless each person that has come here to be with us today in this community of sacred love and joy and peace. And we know that transformation is happening inside each of the hearts of the people in this room. We thank Greg Fisher for coming and blessing us with his amazing voice. And we know that as we send our thanksgiving and blessings out into the world, and we do more and more of gratitude graffiti for the next few weeks, we know that everything we put out there will come back to us, heaped up, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, for that's the law, and so it is. Amen.
So I just want to remind you, it's the annual membership meeting that takes place after the service. This is an important meeting where we give you updates and present the budget, I believe, and do things that are very important about the business of our spiritual community. You don't have to be a member to stay. We encourage all of you to do so. As soon as we whooshy out and whooshy back in, we'll get started. I have no idea what time that will be. Let's stand and sing together.